Welcome to the debate. Today, we're looking closely at the source material, Conversation with a Very Hostile Accomplice of Ghazala Din the Scammer, M4A. It's quite a challenging bit of testimony, capturing a really violent reaction when someone's confronted about financial fraud. So the central question for us is this: does the interviewee's intense hostility and that very specific denial, no, she's not doing that with you at all, does that indicate they're actually an accomplice, covering their tracks? Or are they a victim who's just exhibiting profound denial, a kind of cognitive defense? I have to say, I maintain this person's behavior, well, it strongly suggests complicity.
And I come at it from a slightly different angle. While, yes, the hostility is extreme, I'm interpreting this whole interaction through the lens of, well, psychological trauma and maybe self-preservation. For me, their reaction is perfectly consistent with a victim who's desperately trying to uphold the illusion that Ghazala Din is still trustworthy. Why? Because, well, accepting the scam means accepting a truly devastating loss. What we're hearing, I think, is denial, not necessarily deception.
Okay, but let's challenge that perspective a bit with the source text itself. The interviewer, they noted that out of the 10 people contacted, only 2 seemed dodgy, was the word used, and looked like they were maybe in on the scam with her. Now, this interviewee seems to fall squarely into that suspicious category. Their immediate, almost preemptive defense. I mean, they jump straight to assuming, now you're going to say I'm involved with her then. That suggests they're anticipating an accusation of guilt, doesn't it? And crucially, they deny the exact pattern of the scam laid out. Those initial small payments followed by continuous calculated delays. An average victim, well, they deny the result being scammed, but denying the specific mechanism like that suggests they are perhaps exempt from it.
Right. While that defensiveness is undeniable, the interpretation of its source is really where we diverge. The insistence, that line, she's saying she's going to pay me, it shows this continued, almost frantic belief in Ghazala Din. Victims who have invested heavily, whether it's emotionally or financially, they often construct these psychological defenses. It's a way to avoid recognizing the betrayal. So the hostility, it's like a protective shield snapping shut, basically preventing the interviewer from stripping away their very last hope of maybe recouping the loss. Okay, let's focus on that specific denial of the pattern, though. The interviewer carefully describes the cycle of the fraud. Payments for what, a couple of months? Followed by unending delays like, oh, I haven't got it this week. I'll give you next week. And when asked directly, is that what she's doing with you as well? The interviewee vehemently replies, no, she's not doing that with you at all. Now, if they were experiencing the same pattern as the other 8 victims mentioned, why such a clear, specific rejection of the method itself? To me, this suggests they are either benefiting somehow or perhaps have a side agreement, positioning them outside that standard victim dynamic.
I fundamentally reject that reading that specific denial automatically equates to complicity. You have to remember, the interviewee knows the speaker has talked to several others who are confirmed victims. So by denying the pattern applies to them, they are, I think, desperately trying to distinguish their own situation from that recognized pool of victims. They're rationalizing, basically saying, okay, the others are victims, fine, but I will still get paid. It's a classic psychological defense, an effort to distance oneself from the fate of others when faced with really overwhelming evidence of betrayal.
But let's just circle back quickly to that phrase. Now you're going to say I'm involved with her then. Think about it. An innocent person freshly confronted with the awful reality of a scammer. Typically, wouldn't they focus their immediate anger entirely on the scammer? They usually don't immediately deflect to defending their own involvement. This immediate jump to self-defense, worrying about being perceived as an accomplice, it really suggests a high degree of sensitivity regarding their actual role in all this.
We have to look at the exact moment that accusation is projected, though. The hostility really ignites precisely when the interviewer transitions from detailing the general scheme to asking that direct question. So is that what she's doing with you as well? The interviewee already knows they've been labeled by the interviewer as potentially dodgy. So this reaction, it isn't necessarily proof of being an accomplice.
It could just be a panic response, a response in the face of exposure, where a deeply invested victim, feeling accused, maybe projects the very charge, complicity, that they fear the most.
Ultimately, this testimony, it really forces us to wrestle with the reality that these kinds of specific denials and preemptive defenses, they present a real dual interpretation problem when we're analyzing evidence like this.
Exactly. Whether this specific behavior stems from, actively covering up knowledge of the fraud or from deep-seated denial born of trauma, this material illustrates a critical point. The same severe psychological defense mechanisms used by someone who is guilty can sometimes be functionally indistinguishable from the trauma response of someone who is, in fact, innocent. There's certainly more to explore here and how we try to distinguish between, deflection and defense.